Hi, it's Mike, the two-lane traveler, bringing you another road tripping video. If you've ever looked at a paper map, traced a squiggly little highway and thought, I wonder what's down that road, this one's for you. Today I'm going to show you how I plan my trips using Google My Maps. It's a free tool that lets you build your own custom maps. You can lay out your route, add stops like classic diners, old motels, museums, or those quirky roadside giants we all love, and even organize everything into layers so your map doesn't look like spaghetti. I'll walk you through the process right on the screen, so by the end you'll be ready to build a map of your next two-lane adventure, whether it's Route 66, the Lincoln Highway, or just a wander on the weekend to nowhere in particular. So buckle up and let's start mapping. So, first thing that we do is we go up into the address bar and type mymaps.google.com. Hit enter, and you can see a whole bunch of maps on this page. These are all maps that I've created before, and plus lots more. So your page is going to be blank because you haven't created any maps yet. So all you're going to see is this red create a new map button. You click on that. This little screen will come up and you click create, and we have a map. And we have a map that's showing the United States and part of Mexico and part of Canada. So you can see that this says untitled map here, and so we're going to provide a title for this. I want to create a map that runs from Mountain City, Tennessee over the mountains to Bristol, Tennessee and Bristol, Virginia. And so we are going to title this Mountain City, Tennessee to Bristol, Tennessee / Virginia. And we could provide a description of this if we wanted to in here, as pretty much as long as you want. But we're just going to save it like this. You can always go back and add something later if you want to. So our map is now titled Mountain City. Oops, I just realized I have a typo here. Mountain City, Tennessee. There. Okay. Mountain City, Tennessee to Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia. What we want to do is we want to identify the locations that we're going to. Rather than zooming in and looking for Mountain City, Tennessee, we're going to ask the map to take us right there. So in this window, we're going to go to Mountain City, and you'll see that different possibilities pop up here. So we want Mountain City, Tennessee, and that's where we're going to start. Now, you can see that we've just plopped a pin down here, and by clicking on Add to Map, it turns it blue, and that's now our first point on our map. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to click on this pencil, and I don't want to leave this just as Mountain City. I want to say Mountain City, Tennessee. And I'm going to click Save. But I also don't want to leave this blue. I want to make it red. So I click on this little paint can and come over here to the red color. Click on it, and you can see that it's now a red pin. But I don't want a pin at all. What I really want is a star. So I come down to the icons and I click on the star, and there you go. We've got the pinpoint on here now. And if I click this little hand anywhere on the map, the box will disappear. If I wanted to come back because I want to add a note to it, I just click on it and it'll pop back up again. I could change it to a different color if I wanted to. I could change it to black, but I want to keep it red. So we'll go back and we have a red point. Now we want to find Bristol. So I go up into the search box and I type in Bristol, and you can see Bristol, Tennessee and Bristol, Virginia show up. We actually want to see both of them, but we can only type in one. So we'll click on Bristol, Tennessee, and the exact same thing happens. We get a box and we add it to the map. It's now a blue point. We want to change that blue point to a red star. And we do that. Now we'll change this and we'll call it Bristol, Tennessee / Virginia. And again, we could put information here in the box, or we can leave it blank, do whatever you want. And we will click the Save button. Now, let's zoom out on the map, and you'll see that we have Bristol, Tennessee, and Virginia right here, and we have Mountain City, Tennessee right here. So we can see how far away they are. This is about 32 or 33 miles, I believe, although not as the crow flies, but as you're driving across switchbacks in the mountain. So now what we want to do is we want to create a route between these two places. So we are going to go back up to this list of items here, and I'll show you this one. We're not going to use this draw a line, but I want to show it to you because the menu items are useful and you might want to use them at some point. So you can add a line or a shape anywhere you want to on this map. And you can hand draw this. You can zoom in and draw it. You can draw a box around a key place that you want to go to. A lot of different things that you can do. You can also add a driving route instead of just drawing a line or a shape. You can add a biking route. You can add a walking route. All of these things are possible to do. But right now, what we want to do is we want to create a driving route, but I do mine a little bit differently than choosing add driving route here. You can do that, and it's just a matter of choice. But I'll show you on this other box right here, this button, if you click on it with the arrow, an untitled layer opens up over here on the left. And it indicates that this is going to be a driving route. You could change that to a walking route or a bicycle route, but we're just going from A to B here. And A is Mountain City. And you can see that different options pop up here, and we want Mountain City, Tennessee, so you don't have to type the whole thing in. And then we're going to Bristol, and you can see we can choose either Bristol, Tennessee or Bristol, Virginia. We're going to choose Bristol, Tennessee, although we're going to look at both of them when we zoom in on our map. So we choose Bristol, Tennessee, and instantly it creates our map for us. And you can zoom out and see that we've got a blue map here. Now, one of the things you might notice is that the A and the B on this map wind up covering up our little red stars that we put there to identify Bristol and Mountain City. Doesn't matter, doesn't hurt anything if that's what you want to do, but it annoys me. So I'm going to show you a way to change this and why you might want to, but you don't have to. You can leave it exactly as it is right here. First thing that we want to do, though, is I already know I can look at this and see that the route, although it starts where we want it to in Mountain City, and it's on Main Street in downtown, and it turns right on US 421, and then you can see these switchbacks as it goes across the mountains, goes through the small city of Shady Valley, bunch more switchbacks and turns, and eventually works its way up here to Bristol. And it ends right where we want it to end, which is at State Street and the Volunteer Parkway. But it completely avoids State Street, and I want to drive down State Street. State Street is the legendary street in Bristol that separates Virginia from Tennessee. So as you might notice, as I'm moving the mouse around the little hand, when I touch the blue line, a white ball appears, and I'm just going to left click on that and grab it and drag it, and you can see that blue line moving around, and I drag it up to the route that I want to take, and if I click off of that, the ball will disappear, and so now the route is right where I want it to be. If I decided that I wanted to change it further, so say I want to come down here and then drive back up to State Street, I can alter that route. Now, I don't want to go this way. So what do? How do I fix this to get back to the way I just had it? You go up and you click on the blue line again, and I happen to click right on that dot, and so it made it disappear. That's all you've got to do. So we have our map right now, but like I said, I don't like the way these endpoints are being covered up. So we're going to go over here to this box on the left, and you see these three dots in the corner. That signifies a drop-down menu. So we are going to go over here, and you can see new map if you wanted to start creating another map, copy map if you wanted to make a copy of this because you wanted to keep it the way it was, but you want to make another more detailed map. You could do that. Open a map if I wanted to open one of the other maps that I showed to you earlier. Move to trash if I just want to get rid of this map. Set the default view, I'll show you a little bit later. And embed on my site. If I have a website that I want to put this map on, I can do that with this menu item. But what we want to use is export to KML, KMZ. And we are going to save this blue line before we make some changes. So I click on that, and the default is to the entire map to export that. But we don't want to export our two endpoints. We only want to export the blue line that represents the route. So we click on entire map, and you can see a couple options coming up here. Directions from Mountain City, Tennessee to Bristol, Tennessee is what we want because that's the blue line. And we select that. We're going to export it as a KML file, and we just click download. And that's going to go to our computer, and I'm going to put this on Google Drive, and we will save it, and it's there. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to grab the line, and we're just going to delete it. So I'm going to hit the delete button on my keyboard, and it's gone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer. See this button up here on the left? It says add layer. You can have up to 10 layers on a map that you create, and I'll explain why you might want to do that. You don't have to know anything about these layers, but they're helpful and useful sometimes. So anyway, I just created this new layer and it says import. And I'm going to go back to Google Drive where I just left this, the directions from Mountain City to Bristol. And I click on it and then I'm going to click insert. And it puts it right back where it was. But if you notice, instead of those blue A, B points, it's just got a couple of pins here. And if I click on this pin, it shows right here that that's the Bristol pin, and I can delete it. And I've got my red star there. I can do the same thing over here for the Mountain City pin. I click on it, I delete it, and now I just have the 2 stars. So that's not a huge deal, and you might not care, and it might not even be worth your time. But there's one other thing that you can do here, actually 2 other things that you can do now that you couldn't do with that other line on here. If you click on this, you'll see this familiar box popping up. You can change the name of it with the pencil. We'll just leave it as it is for now. But the other thing that you can do is you can change the color of the line. So now our route is orange, and the other thing that I can do is I can go back to it, and when I click that paint can, it also shows line width. So the default is the size that it's showing right now. But if I want to make it slightly wider, I can do that. If I want to make it really wide, which probably doesn't make much sense, I can do that. I can also make it extremely thin. So if I wanted to be able to read the road signs better or something like that, I might do that. Usually I just widen it slightly from where it defaults to originally. And we now have the line. We could change the color of this line very easily by coming up here and turning it into a red line if we wanted to. And we can create different lines on here in different colors. For example, if you had part of your route was on a dirt road and you wanted to identify that, you could make the dirt road brown color or something. So anyway, we're going to leave this as the orange that we set this up for. So now what we might want to do is come over to this untitled layer where it says Mountain City, Tennessee and Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia. That's where we made the stars here. But we want to make another star. We want to identify one more city. And since we're doing this with cities, I'm going to change this untitled layer, and I want to just change the name of this layer to cities. And we could put one more point. We don't have to put any more points on here, but we could put 1 point on here. We could put 50 on here. We could put 2,000 points on here. It allows a maximum on any given layer of 2,000 items. So we're going to come into Shady Valley, and this is the main intersection of Shady Valley. I'm going to come up here and click on this add marker, come down, there's a crosshair right here, and I am going to click this spot, and we want to make this look like the other points, so I'm calling this Shady Valley, Tennessee. Whoops, it didn't let me do that. Let's try again. Shady Valley, Tennessee, and you can put a note below that, but we're just going to leave it like that. However, we're changing the color to red, and we are going to turn this into a star. And it now looks the way we want it to look. So what else can we add on here that we might want to mark for our trip so we remember. What about, let's go back to Mountain City. What if we want to find a restaurant along the way and we want to identify some of those restaurants? So I'm going to add another layer. Don't have to, I could put them right in this same thing. I could say cities and restaurants if I wanted to, but I'll show you why you might want to put these on separate layers as we go along. So this untitled layer we're going to call restaurants. And we're going to save it. And now you'll see that there's a blue bar on here. That means that we're on this layer right now. If we wanted to add another city, we would want to go up here and put the blue bar on this one so that when we started identifying our point, it would be on cities. But right now we want it to be on restaurants. And we are going to zoom in to a really cool restaurant in Mountain City called Locals Deli. Wonderful place to eat, great ambiance. I really like the place. So what we're going to do, we can do this one of two ways. We can just click on Locals Deli and then add a point to it. Or we can click on the pin like we did up here for Shady Valley and then just mark exactly where it is. But we'll do it this way and I'll show you why. So it says add to map, which we've already seen before. And you can see that if you do it this way, it automatically incorporates its address and its phone number in case you want to call the restaurant to make sure that it's open or something like that. So I like to do it that way. So we are going to identify this as Locals Deli in Mountain City, Tennessee. And we're going to save that. Now, we're going to keep this blue. We're going to make all of our restaurants blue, but we're using a different icon. And you'll notice here there's a cross spoon and knife or fork and knife, something that looks like a spoon and a knife. And we'll use that as our location for the deli. Now we're going to go and we're going to add a couple more. We're going to go all the way to Bristol because we're starting in Mountain City. So maybe we want to be able to eat there before we leave. And then by the time we get to Bristol, we might want to have lunch. And there are some really great restaurants in Bristol, but two of them that I particularly like. The first one is the Burger Bar. You'll see that this is State Street right here. And north of State Street is Virginia, and south of State Street is Tennessee. And that's one of the really cool things about Bristol. So we're going to go up into Virginia, and we're going to click on the Burger Bar, and we're going to add it to the map. I won't add that it's in Bristol, Virginia here, just to save a little bit of time, but we've got our blue pointer. All we want to do is change that to a blue knife and spoon that identifies it as a restaurant. And then we're going to come down here to another one, my favorite restaurant in Bristol. This one is on the south side of State Street, so it's Bristol, Tennessee. It's Delta Blues Barbecue, an awesome place. I really enjoy going there. Sharon and I both love it. So again, it's already defaulted to blue. We will put this icon on it, and you can see now that we've got two restaurants here. The other thing that you probably notice is that there's a bunch of other restaurants on here, and they've already got their own icons. So why do we need to do this? Well, one of the reasons is that As you zoom out on this map, you'll notice that these other places kind of disappear, but our icons are still on here. The blue one here and the two blue ones are kind of overlapping in Bristol. But you don't have all the noise of the other restaurants. Also, you'll remember the restaurants that you made plans to stop in rather than going and having to search for it among all the other restaurants in Bristol. So that's something that we can do here. Now, I also want to make a few other points to stop, and I'm going to create another layer. And this layer is going to be historic places. Okay, these could be photo ops or different kinds of things. Now, you'll notice right up here is a museum, and it's called the Birthplace of Country Music. Bristol is considered the birthplace of country music, and this museum is really cool. So we're going to add the museum to the map, and we're going to make this yellow. So all of our historic places we're going to make yellow. And I don't see a good icon on here to use. So we're going to click this button down here, More Icons, and there's lots of different kinds of icons that you can use here. And you don't have to use them as they're labeled, but I generally try to come as close as I can to what they have here. So I know which one that I want. I just don't see it off the top of my head. So I want a museum icon. So I start typing museum in the filter box up here, and you can see that there are a couple of different alternatives here. One is museum in Japan, and the other one is just museum. So I'm going to select that, click OK, and I now have my museum here. It also moved the icon, the museum icon, onto my main page so that if there are other museums that I want to identify, I don't have to go back and search for that again. So that's another thing that I can do. Now you'll notice right here, looks like a little rook, like a little chess piece or something. And this is where the map is, the sign, the Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee slogan sign. It says, "A great place to live," and it goes right across State Street. So it's a really cool, iconic sign that crosses the most iconic street in Bristol. So we want to add this to our map definitely because we don't want to forget it. We're going to turn this yellow, and unfortunately it's not a museum and there isn't a sign icon. So we're going to go over here and we're just going to filter on historic, and you can see this is a monument right here. This is a plaque. That's kind of a sign. This is a historic building, and this is Japanese or Chinese historical building. So let's use the plaque for this one. We click on it again, click OK, and you can see that it appears right here. There's one more type of thing that I want to include here, and it's really close to the museum. It's a historic hotel called the Bristol Hotel. And we're going to add that to the map. We're going to turn that this purplish color, burgundy or something. And that's here on the front too. It's a picture of a bed with somebody sleeping in it. So that identifies this. But I forgot to create a new layer. So let's do that right now. We're going to create a layer. And we're going to call this hotels and motels. Okay, now we already created this, so all we're going to do is grab it and drag it down into the right layer, and that's here now. I'm going to find one more hotel. This isn't in Bristol, but it's a little ways away in Abingdon, and we're going to come up here to Abingdon, and we're going to grab the Martha Washington Inn and Spa. Wonderful place. And it's so we're going to change the color of that, and we are going to change the icon. So now we've got two hotels. And these are all the points that we're going to add on here. But there's another thing that you can do with these points that make it kind of interesting. Let's go back to the burger bar, and you see this camera right here. I'm going to click on that camera, and I'm going to go to Google Drive where I saved some pictures. And here's a picture of the burger bar. I click on it, and I'm going to click on Insert, and here's the burger bar right here. I actually have a second picture there, so I'm going to add that. We're going to, let's see if we browse, if it'll take us. Yes, it'll still go back here. Oops, it won't let us do it that way. Okay, let's go to Google Drive again, and we'll grab it here. And that's an interior shot. So we now have two photographs here, and we can do the exact same thing over here at the Delta Blues. Click on the camera, go find our pictures. Here's the exterior of Delta Blues. And we'll add another one. We'll add the interior. Okay, so now we've got some photographs, and sometimes you may want to put photos in here as a reminder. I have a map of diners, and there are over 400 vintage diners on my map, and sometimes off the top of my head I don't remember what that particular diner looked like. I may not have been there before, and I'm trying to decide between two different diners that I want to go see. And I'll take a look at the pictures, and I tend to like the ones that are more original. So maybe I'll look at those pictures, and it'll tell me that one is very original and the other one has been changed quite a bit over the years. So that helps me make a decision. So anyway, that's one of the ways that I use these things. So now I'm going to show you why you might want to create layers. Even though we've only got a few different places, we've got 3 cities on the city layer, we've got 3 restaurants on the restaurant layer, and 2 places on the historic places layer, 2 places on the hotels and motels layer. But what if this map was a map of the whole state? Or what if we wanted to list 20 different restaurants in Bristol instead of just 2? All of a sudden, we've got points everywhere on this map. So here's what you might do. So we zoom out on the map, and there could be points everywhere here. And right now, we're not interested specifically in the cities, so we're going to uncheck the cities layer, and all the cities have disappeared. We're going to uncheck the historic places layer, and the historic places have disappeared. And we're going to unchecked hotels and motels. So the only things left on this map are the 3 restaurants, the one in Mountain City and the 2 in Bristol. So it's really easy to find them. Or if it's late at night and you're looking for a place to sleep, you decide to turn off the restaurant layer and turn on hotels, and you remember, oh yeah, there was a hotel right here in Bristol, and you knew there was another one over here somewhere. There it is in Abingdon. So you can quickly spot those places. The other thing that I do with my diners is when I'm in one of the diners, I'll click on the pencil, but as I'm preparing for my trip, and I'll list the hours that the diner is open. So a lot of diners are only open from like 6 in the morning until 1 or 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And it might be getting close to dinner time, and I'm trying to find a diner that's nearby that's open for dinner. So by having all of that information listed in this box, it saves me time, and I can quickly check diners in the area that I'm in to find one that's open for dinner. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of where we're going with creating these things. Now I'll show you just a couple more quick things. So I don't live in Mountain City and I don't live in Bristol. So when I actually created my map, I had to figure out how I was going to get there. So I am going to create a new map, and I am going to I just clicked on this arrow and a new untitled layer pops up, and I am going to drive from Jonesboro, Tennessee to Mountain City. And you can see that this layer just inserted itself. I want to zoom in here and see as I'm going. I go through Johnson City and then I go into Elizabethton, but I don't like that route through Elizabethton. It's too commercial, and I prefer to drive down G Street as I come into town. There's only one traffic signal as you get all the way into town. And I also want to drive right through the historic part of downtown and right past a monument that is in the middle of downtown in a traffic circle. So these are all places. There's also a historic bridge here that I could add to our map if I wanted to. Wonderful historic covered bridge in Elizabethton, iconic. So then we go from Elizabethton down to Hampton, and that takes us all the way up to Mountain City, where we're going to start. Now I go back to Bristol, and I want to figure out how to get home. So I click on this again, and it creates another layer, and we are going from Bristol, Tennessee, and we're going to Jonesboro. And I've decided that I'm just going to let Google choose the route. I'm not going to make any changes to it. So now I have an entire loop where I go from Jonesboro all the way up to Mountain City. Then the main part of our route, which was Mountain City, across the mountains to Bristol, and then just home from Bristol to Jonesboro. Again, if I wanted to change these to orange or to red, or just to get rid of the dots there, the A and B dots, then that's something that you know how to do now, and you can easily do that. So that is everything. Now, if I go back to my maps, you can see that a brand new map has been created here. So I can go, I want to show you something. This is my map of food and lodging sites around the country, different interesting places that I like to visit. And this layer is all restaurants that aren't diners. Then I have another layer, and that layer is sleep accommodations. And you can see that they overlap a lot and kind of get in each other's way. So I can turn the restaurants off and just be looking at sleep accommodations. But what if I don't want sleep accommodations either? I want to look at diners. Well, you can see there's a lot of diners, especially in the Northeast, and I can zoom in on those diners and try to find some of my favorite ones. The Wellsboro Diner in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania is an amazing diner, as is the Red Rose Diner that's about an hour away. And this is a way for me to keep track of these places and find ones that I am really interested in visiting while I'm on the road. So layering really helps when you've got a lot of points like this. Anyway, we go back here, and if I want to reopen the map, you can see that just put my food and lodging guide over here to the far left, because that's the one I opened most recently. But the one we just created is right next to it, and we can open it and go back here. So that's it. That's everything that you need to know to get started on creating a map. And if you have questions about anything, just let me know in the comments section. And there you have it, your very own travel map ready to guide you down America's back roads. With Google My Maps, you can keep adding new spots every time you discover a hidden diner, an old neon sign, or a place you just don't want to forget. If this tutorial helped you out, give it a thumbs up and share it with your favorite travel buddy. And if you love exploring the roads less traveled, make sure you subscribe to Two Lane Traveler, because the journey is always half the fun. Until next time, keep your tank full, your tires aired up, and your map full of dreams. Thanks for watching.